What's up, guys? It's your boy Havenshark here, coming to you again with another scary video. And why am I doing this? Halloween! Yeah, I like it, but mostly for the candy. Most people only like Halloweens for the candy, except those weirdos. But anyway, guys, the video we're gonna watch today, 5 true horror dating stories that would keep you up at night. Bobby Buster. Link to the original video is in the description down below. Let's go. Number five.
Okay, so I used to date this girl in high school who would always tell me she was contemplating suicide. I thought it was serious at first, but after a while I realized she was just wanting attention. She would cut herself by giving herself scratch marks on her arms and would then wear tank tops in the middle of winter and sit with her arms outstretched on the table so people could notice and make comments. Anyway, we broke up after a year, but she only got crazier. She started dating a friend of mine a couple of years later and would stalk the shit out of him. One of my favourite stories of his was when they got into a fight and didn't talk for about a week. Apparently she went to his house one day and was let in by my friend's parents. She made up some bullshit story about waiting for him to come home so they could talk. She goes into his room and starts cutting up all his clothes with a pair of scissors she had brought with her and then left. Later on that week, when he was brushing his teeth, he said he bent over to spit out the toothpaste, and when he stood up again, she was standing behind him, looking at him in the mirror. Then she ran out crying hysterically. After a few more of those crazy episodes of hers, my friend decided to cut her off completely. But it gets worse. Fast forward a couple of years later, my crazy ex is now dating another guy I know. They stay together for a while, but soon he realizes that she's nuts and decides to break up with her, only she won't accept it. She waits outside his house every day and calls him constantly, trying to talk to him. This goes on for a couple of weeks until he tells her to leave him alone and not talk to him anymore. She can't handle it, and so the stalking continues. He gets an average of 30 to 50 calls a day from her and literally hundreds of texts from the girl. She's always sitting outside his house, waiting for the chance to talk to him, and it drives him to the point where he actually got a restraining order against her. A week later, she broke into his home, and he found her sitting on his couch waiting for him. He called the cops, and they removed her from the property, and she ends up having to spend the weekend in jail. But there's more. She starts telling people she's pregnant, and even goes with one of her cousins to get a sonogram, twice. Both times the doctors tell her that she's not pregnant and that there's no baby. She tells everyone that they have no idea what they're talking about, and due to the fact that she has brittle bone disease, the baby actually got lodged up somewhere inside her rib cage, and that is why they couldn't see anything during the sonogram. Word of this gets out, and now her friends have even given up trying to help her. The craziest part of this is that after a couple of weeks, she actually started forming a belly. She even sends pics of her stomach to friends and family members to show them she's really pregnant. But she's not. Apparently, there's a psychological disorder where women can convince themselves that they're pregnant and start to show signs of being pregnant, but they actually aren't. Anyway, the last I heard, she is forcing her family to throw her a baby shower in April, and is due sometime later that month. Number 4. Sometimes my shocking...
I'm so happy I don't have to deal with that. I'm so happy. That guy, those guys had a rough... I mean, before they dated her, wouldn't you think they would have seen the craziness in her? Or is she that good of an actor just to hide it? Maybe she should go out for acting. I think that would be better for her. She would make a killing. She fooled those 3 guys and dated her.
Lack of popular culture
I'm pretty
knowledge
sure she
gets
could
me
do
into really bad situations.
more.
I met a guy on Match.com who was decent looking, if a little heavy metal-y, rough around the edges. He claimed to be really into music, in town for a few months for work and seemed really enthusiastic about meeting me. In fact, he seemed really enthusiastic about everything. We chatted back and forth online for a week or so, set a date for a Friday night, and shared a couple of phone calls, during the last of which he told me he was a gigolo. That's cool, I'm not looking for anything really serious right now anyway, I replied. The first date night arrived, and he showed up at my door, dressed in a weird, scary clown-covered suit. An open can of cheap beer.
Wait. You met someone online, and for your first date, he shows up at your house. I'm not gonna. I don't need to tell y'all how many signs this is. You're asking for something to happen to you. You never set up a date at your house, especially if you don't know the person, girl or boy, or alien. Yes, aliens. Shit, invited to his house on the first date. Now I can see like 5, 6, 7, 18 dates later. But the first one, bruh.
In his hand, and he was so jumpy I thought he had the cops after him. He mumbled what I thought was a greeting, slurped down his beer and crushed the can on his head, and pushed past me into the kitchen where he proceeded to fish through my fridge for another beer. Yeah, there are bad boys, and then there's this guy. He complained loudly about the bottle of local microbrew he found, using a pejorative term for homosexuals to describe it, but kept sucking it down and pacing around doing air guitar. In my usual dulcet manner, I asked him if I could get him anything to make his visit more comfortable. He joked that his meth intake was a good diet plan, and asked if I was ready to go to the concert that I didn't know we were going to, Insane Clown Posse, explaining that it was hard to meet girls who were down with the clown. He wasn't a gigolo, he was a juggalo, a term I had to phone a friend to have explained to me, which I did about 10 minutes after I kicked his ass out of my house. He took a piss in my yard on the way out, called me a cunt, and almost took my mailbox with his scary clown sticker-covered truck. I should have known what a juggalo was, but now I'm forever sorry that I found out.
Number 3.
That was your fault. I'm sorry, that was totally your fault.
When I was younger, I had just turned 19. I was on a date with a seriously beautiful girl,
Yeah, I should definitely
way
do
out
that.
of my league. We went to a small concert, and while we were there, we started talking to a slightly older couple, late 20s or early 30s, older than us at least. We started talking about the bands and the guitars. I love guitars, so I really liked the guy. The main band comes on and we have a great time and never see the couple for the rest of the night. The show ends and it's really late. We're walking into the parking lot and see the couple. He comes up to us and says, "Thank God, we left our lights on and our battery's dead. Do you have any jumper cables?" And I thought I did under my spare, so I pop the trunk, I lift the cover, and just as I did, I heard a strange noise. I look, and the guy has got his hand over my girlfriend's mouth and has lifted her off her feet, running. I had a tire iron in my hand from getting ready to raise the spare. I ran up and hit him as hard as I could over the back of his neck and the back of his head. The second swing he moved and I caught his elbow. I hit so hard my hand hurt. It was just enough that she was able to wriggle free and she ran towards my car. I drew back to swing again and his wife, or female partner, throws open a door to the minivan right there and he jumps in. She's pointing a gun out in the open passenger side door. I just froze for a second and started running towards the parked cars with my head ducked. They peel off towards the street and they're gone. I still don't know what would have happened if I was a second slower, if I hadn't have hit his elbow. Their minivan was right there. It scares me to think of it to this day.
Yeah,
Number 2.
pretty sure it will.
My mum almost never dated guys because she was focusing on raising my sister and I. However, my mum's landlord, let's call him Bill, seemed to be a nice guy.
Bill.
And when he came to her door to collect the rent check, they would sometimes chat. My mum got significantly cheaper rent because she was mainly in charge of cleaning and maintaining the apartment building. One day, while cleaning, she found a small notebook that appeared to belong to Bill the landlord. She opened it up out of curiosity. Inside were pages full of 3 columns. The first column being a woman's name, or simply woman in the park or woman at the beach, etc. The second column said shoes, followed by with or without. The third column said did it, or didn't do it. On the list, there were far more didn't do it's than did it's. My mum found her own name on the list. Her row in the column said my mother's name, barefoot, didn't do it. My mum returned the notebook to her landlord, who immediately asked her if she'd opened it. She said no. Over the next few weeks, my mum avoided the landlord and always wore shoes around him because every did it on the list was for a woman who was barefoot. Bill the landlord got very frustrated and demanded to know why my mother was avoiding him so much. She couldn't take it and said, "Because you're scary." Fast forward a few days later, my mum gets a phone call and answers. It's Bill, the landlord. He says, "Look out your window, bitch." She crawled over to the window, trying not to be seen, and outside her window, sitting on the ground, is a gigantic 6 foot tall, probably 8 feet wide cube of ice, with dozens of pairs of women's panties frozen within it. She called the police, and the police discovered that he'd beaten and raped some of the women on his list, and they found a plethora of child pornography, all self-made, in his house. Number 1.
Was he trying?
It happened to me about a month ago now.
Okay. Why did he do it? Just to flash or something? Still confused on that one. I mean,
This guy,
good
whose
thing they
name
called him
I will
though.
not
Like
state,
seriously.
added me on Facebook and messaged me. We started talking for about 2 weeks, and I was really into him. He invited me into his...
Quick side note: don't ever let it. Wait. Don't ever let someone else pour your drink unless you watch them pour out of a bottle. Quick side note.
friend's house for a few drinks one night, and I went. I trusted him. I had a few drinks, and as expected, he was really distant with me. I don't remember much of that night after my 3rd drink, yet I remember asking to go lie down for a while. I woke up later that night with him kissing my neck. I was so confused, looking around me wondering what had happened, how my jeans had got off, and why I didn't remember getting to this stage. He said my name, "Leah, look into my eyes." I really liked this guy, and because I trusted him, he got my focus and simply asked, "Are you on the pill?" I replied, and then he asked, "Are you sure you want to do this?" I didn't know what was going on, but because he made me feel like I was doing this with him, I just said, "Go." Those words still haunt me. I remember trying to stay awake, but now I know I just couldn't. I will always remember the look on his face, the last thing I saw before I passed out again. The look in his eyes as if he knew I was going to pass out, and as if he was just thinking in his mind of what he was going to do to me. The next morning I woke up, confused and more or less forgetting about what had happened. He didn't write to me after that. I sent him about 4 text messages willing him to reply. I hadn't realized what had happened. I passed the forgetfulness off as drink and the bruises off as falling. About 4 days later, my mum knew something was up with me. She googled date rape drugs, and I then realized I had all the symptoms that night. Then it hit me, what he had done to me. I looked at the bruise on my body and realized how they were shaped, like finger marks, on funny places on my body that I couldn't have received from falling alone. I felt so stupid not realizing what had happened. Of course, I went to the police as soon as possible, but all my clothes had been washed, and it was too late to check my system for drugs. I don't think my case will go to court, due to the text messages and evidence against me, and the fact that I hadn't realized it soon enough. I'll never forgive myself, and anyone else this has happened to, I'm really sorry too. I've read online for cases where people haven't realized what had happened, and I didn't succeed in finding any, causing me to feel even more stupidity. That's why I'm writing here, so that if this happened to you, you know you're not alone.
Oh boy, there's some stuff in this one. The most one I really want to talk about, though, is the last one, and I can't believe I forgot. Oh yeah, the boy that she let come to her house in the first day. I still can't get over that, because you're not supposed... I'm just going to say right now, I'm not no expert at this type of stuff a lot. So, bear with me. But I know for online dating, you're supposed to, if you do end up arranging a date, to be somewhere lit up, somewhere where you can't get, like, kidnapped. And, you know the area. Even though you know the area and it's your house, there's still two others that can easily happen. It's the same that applies for buying a car or buying something off credit, stuff like that. A lot of this stuff was, well, I would say half of this stuff was, yeah, pure stupidity. And the last one, the roofie one, yeah, I got a tip on that one from a cousin. It almost happened to her. Not the same way, but okay, I'll tell you the story. My cousin, she was with friends. This was her night. It was a girls' night out, and she was with her friends, and they all went to a local bar. Or was it a club? One of the two. Well, anyway, once they got in there, she said that she seen, like, in the corner of her eye that there was this guy that was watching her the whole entire time. But she never took it, she never took it to heart or anything. And she's like, maybe it's part of the environment. Decided to go with it. Little did she know, this guy was stalking her mad crazy. And I got this from a friend that didn't know everything that was about to go on with my cousin. So they're at the bar. The guy offers my cousin a couple drinks. This dude was super slick with these drinks. Oh my God. It's amazing how they found all this out. Like, honestly, he legitly did some, like, movie spy. So, he went to go get the drinks, and he came back, and while he was coming back, he had, like, a little powder of, roofie, like a powdered roofie, or whatever it was. It was a type of drug, but we're just gonna call it roofie. And while he was holding both the drinks, he kind of sprinkled like this. Got him in both cups now. And he gave it to my cousin. Little did she know, when he did this, he had like a certain amount that he was like pouring out. And it got into both cups. And not on the sides or around the cups. It just went into the cup, disappeared. It looks just like normal while he's walking to her. So once she takes a sip of her drink, the way he like drunk his drink, he drunk it but with his lips closed, so he didn't drink anything. After a while being at the party, my cousin starts to feel blurry. She's dizzy. She's starting to get a headache. She feels like she's gonna black out. Well, the guy slowly tries to get her into the bathroom, because the thing with these bathrooms, they have little window panes that you can easily get out. And it's like a drop down, and you can escape through that way or drag somebody through that way. The fact that it's big enough to do that, they need to like get rid of that fast. Who puts windows in the bathroom at a club? Like, he almost had her to the bathroom until my friends wondered, where is my cousin? By the time they seen the other guy and the way that he had her arm, they immediately thought something was up. At that time, they got the hell out. They saw what was happening and they got the hell out of there. The reason that I got all this info is because, like, 3 days later, she was sick. Like, for those 3 days, she was like dog sick. But while she was laying in the bed watching Dora, she started to slowly get back her memories on things that she was seeing, but she never took into consideration. It was hella scary for her. Thank goodness she is safe. But anyway, guys, if you like that video and the thoughts and short story, like, comment, and subscribe down below. And go subscribe to Big Buster. But without anything else, laters.